This is the Canley Files. Real courtrooms, real people, real cases. Every episode, we bring you inside Canadian courtrooms, where lives change in a moment and justice is decided. No actors, no fiction, just the truth, told in full. These are real cases, drawn straight from the official court records. Let's begin.
He was born into a good home. Not perfect, but loving. Ryan Edwards wasn't raised in chaos. There was no abuse, no violence in the house. His dad was always there. He stayed, he tried, and Ryan loved him for that. But even early on, something about Ryan was different. At just 6 years old, doctors diagnosed him with attention deficit disorder, ADD. He had trouble sitting still, trouble focusing, trouble keeping his emotions in check. Still, he managed to get through elementary school. Not easily, but he made it. Then came high school, and that's when things began to fall apart. Ryan started skipping class, a lot. His learning struggles got worse. Eventually, Children's Aid got involved. There were red flags. People saw he needed help, but the help never seemed enough. Around 14, Ryan said he started noticing it himself, that his mind was changing, that he wasn't stable anymore. That same year, he began drinking and smoking weed every day. It was like he was trying to numb something he couldn't explain. By 15, his behavior was slipping fast. He started stealing his mom's car, going on joyrides. He ripped car emblems off vehicles just for the thrill. It wasn't about crime. It was about impulse, about not being able to stop himself. At 16, Ryan was diagnosed with something more serious, pervasive developmental disorder, a neurological condition that affects how a person plans, thinks, reacts, and controls themselves. This wasn't just bad behavior. It was a brain that wasn't wired right. Ryan dropped out of school soon after. He never went back, never got a real job, just floated, medicated, isolated, and slipping further away. At 17, his dad fought to get him help. He went to court and had Ryan admitted to the SILAPS Youth Center, a treatment program for young people with complex mental health needs. The staff there noticed something right away. Ryan would sometimes say he wanted to kill someone, but then he'd say it was just a joke. A bad joke from a kid they weren't sure how to help. When he turned 18, the center had to release him. He was now an adult. He got set up with a psychiatrist and social worker. His antipsychotic meds, Seroquel, were doubled, from 200 meters to 400 monomers. But it still wasn't enough. That fall, just a few months before the attack, his dad watched him unravel all over again. Ryan was punching holes in cupboards, banging pipes with a hammer, laughing to himself for no reason, refusing to shower, picking up old cigarette butts from the street to smoke, pretending his hand was a gun. It was like he was there, but not really there. Detached, unstable, and sinking. In November 2011, Ryan spent a week in the psychiatric ward at Brampton Civic Hospital. Doctors confirmed he was suffering from psychosis, but he didn't stay long, just 7 days. He was released back into the community, back into his father's care, still taking his meds, but only half the dose experts later said he needed. In the weeks leading up to the attack, Ryan was seeing a psychiatrist every 6 to 8 weeks. He was taking his medication, but he wasn't getting any counseling. No therapy, no programs, just pills and a prayer. He told the probation officer, "I'm a good person who can become a better person." And maybe he believed that. But the world around him wasn't changing, and inside the pressure was building. December 22nd, 2011. That morning, Ryan went to the Canadian Mental Health Association. It was a place he sometimes went to socialize, but he was frustrated. He'd run out of cigarettes. No alcohol. He thought he wasn't going to get the job he wanted. Back home, something broke. That night, Ryan picked up a kitchen knife and stepped into the street. Part 2, the incident, minute-by-minute breakdown. It was December 22nd, 2011, a cold Thursday just 3 days before Christmas. But for 18-year-old Ryan Edwards, this day would not bring peace or joy. It was the day his long-standing struggles with mental illness, frustration, and internal chaos turned violent. Ryan started the morning at the Canadian Mental Health Association, CMHA, where he sometimes went to socialize. But something felt off. He was agitated, angry. He'd run out of cigarettes and alcohol. A job he hoped for was slipping through his fingers. By early afternoon, his father was called to pick him up from CMHA because of disruptive behavior. His mind was racing. He later said he felt riled up and described having maniacal urges. Whether or not he had taken his antipsychotic medication, Seroquel, that day became a key question. He told police he did, but later told his probation officer he hadn't. Around 6:40 p.m., Ryan approached his first target, Mr. Singh, a neighbor. He asked Mr. Singh to step outside his home to answer a question. Calm, composed, just a neighbor talking to a neighbor. Then he asked, "What time is it?" And in the next instant, he lunged with a kitchen knife, aiming for Mr. Singh's waist. Mr. Singh managed to push him back and run across the street, escaping to another neighbor's house to call police. Mr. Singh wasn't physically hurt, but the shock was deep. He was a peaceful man. There had been no warning, no argument, no prior relationship, just violence from nowhere. Instead of stopping, Ryan continued walking up the street, now openly waving the knife in the air over his head. It was a warning to everyone and no one, like he wanted to be seen. He saw Mr. and Ms. Martino, more neighbors. He asked them for a cigarette. They said no, he asked again. "I have a knife in my pocket, and if I had a gun, I would shoot you in the head." Now walking farther up the road, Ryan crossed paths with Mr. Gill, another neighbor coming home from work. Mr. Gill didn't know Ryan. There was no fight, no warning, no reason. Ryan smiled at him, made a friendly face, and then, without a word, he stabbed Mr. Gill in the back with the same kitchen knife. He didn't stay. He didn't explain. He simply ran away, leaving the knife still lodged in Mr. Gill's back. Mr. Gill would spend 3 days in hospital and miss 4 months of work. Following the stabbings, Ryan did not go home. He walked to the house of a friend, Ms. Eskedjian. He asked to stay with her parents. They said no, but they gave him food, clean clothes, and let him watch TV for an hour. Then they drove him to another friend, Mr. Gaston's house, where Ryan stayed to play video games, calm, quiet, detached, until police arrived and arrested him that same evening. Ryan was asked later why he did it. His explanation? He said he just wanted to kill someone to see what it felt like. After the first attempt failed, he kept going. He wanted that feeling. And when he finally stabbed Mr. Gill, he told police that he felt satisfied. Psychological factors. Ryan's defense tried to argue he should be not criminally responsible because of mental illness. He had a long history of psychiatric issues, diagnosed with ADD at age 6, diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder by 16, had been hospitalized, medicated, and under psychiatric care, but the judge found he understood what he was doing and that it was morally and legally wrong. That made him criminally responsible, no matter how sick he was. Part 3. The courtroom returns. Sentencing reasoning. After the horrific attacks, the court was ready to deliver its judgment. Ryan Edwards had been convicted of 2 counts of attempted murder. But now the question was, what sentence would reflect the gravity of his actions, the impact on the victims, and his mental health history? Crown and defense positions. The Crown sought a 12-year prison sentence, but was open to giving Ryan enhanced credit for his pre-trial custody time at a ratio of 1.51, meaning he would receive more credit for time spent in jail before sentencing. In addition to prison time, the Crown asked for a weapons prohibition order for 10 years after his release, a DNA order to be kept on file permanently. The defense argued for a shorter sentence in the range of 4 to 7 years. They agreed with the ancillary orders, but felt that Ryan's mental health and his remorse deserved more consideration in terms of a lighter sentence. The judge's reasoning. The judge, Justice Donahue, carefully weighed the mitigating and aggravating factors in Ryan's case. Mitigating factors: mental health. Ryan suffered from a serious mental illness, including pervasive developmental disorder, which impaired his impulse control. His psychiatrist, Dr. Swayze, confirmed that Ryan's mental state at the time of the attack was influenced by his psychiatric issues. The judge found his mental illness to be a major mitigating factor. Youth. Ryan was only 18 years old at the time of the offense. The judge took into account his age, his lack of a criminal record, and his family's continued support. His actions, though violent, were out of character for someone who had been raised in a supportive environment. Remorse and responsibility. Ryan expressed remorse for his actions. He acknowledged responsibility for what he did and said he felt guilty for what happened. This was another mitigating factor, showing that he was not a cold-hearted individual, but someone who could reflect on his wrongs. Aggravating factors, wanton violence. The attacks were unprovoked and random. Ryan attacked two neighbors with no clear motive or relationship. Mr. Singh was barely harmed, but Mr. Gill suffered serious injuries and was hospitalized for days.
Victim impact. The victims' lives were deeply affected by Ryan's actions. Mr. Singh was shaken by the attack, and Mr. Gill endured physical pain and emotional trauma, with long-term consequences from his injuries. Ryan's statements. Ryan told police he wanted to kill someone just to see how it felt. When the first attempt failed, he tried again. This lack of remorse immediately after the attacks weighed heavily against him. Lack of medication. Ryan claimed he had not taken his medication on the day of the attacks, but there was some discrepancy in his statements. Whether or not he had missed his dose was unclear, but the judge considered his failure to take medication an aggravating factor, as it contributed to his violent actions. The sentence justice. Donahue acknowledged that while Ryan had mental health challenges, his actions could not be excused simply because of his illness. The need to protect the public and denounce the seriousness of the attacks was paramount. Taking everything into account, the seriousness of the offense, Ryan's mental illness, youth, and remorse, Justice Donahue imposed a 9-year sentence. However, since Ryan had already served 41 months and 5 days in pretrial custody, this time was credited at a 1.5:1 ratio, reducing his sentence by 5 years and 2 months. The final breakdown was 9 years imprisonment minus enhanced credit for pre-sentence custody. After applying the credit, Ryan's net sentence was 3 years and 10 months. Ancillary orders, a DNA order, a weapons prohibition order for 10 years following his release, and a lifetime ban from possessing weapons. The judge's final thoughts. Justice Donahue explained that the 9-year sentence was meant to balance rehabilitation and deterrence. Ryan needed time to address his mental health issues, and the sentence reflected the seriousness of the crime. However, there was still hope for Ryan's rehabilitation. The judge believed that, with consistent medication and support from his family, Ryan could become a better person. His journey was just beginning, and the court emphasized the importance of him continuing his psychiatric treatment while incarcerated. The judge concluded by stressing the importance of making decisions that would protect the public while also giving Ryan a chance to rebuild his life once he had paid his debt to society. Conclusion: Ryan Edwards' sentence was a mix of punishment for his violent actions and compassion for his mental health issues. It served to recognize the severity of the crimes while also leaving room for rehabilitation, a chance for Ryan to turn his life around.